So sowing us into the new year, Mother Nature certainly has been starting us off in an interesting way this year. As I think about all of the events that have been happening, and I look out at this beautiful congregation, I am so grateful for all of the giving and the receiving and just the beautiful way that our community wraps its arms around each other. Whether you are joining us here in person or you are part of our online community and you hear the echo of that community brought in as we are all one, just allow me to say, welcome home. I'm so glad that you are all here. Just breathe into that for a moment and settle into this space. And here at Eureka CSL, we like to start off every morning in a very special way, and that is with our opening affirmation. We're getting there. There we go. And so if you'll say this first part with me and then turn to someone near you to honor the path that brought them here this morning. And so we begin. We are a welcoming community where the vibration of love lifts us, the wisdom of the ages inspire us, and the science of mind teaching empowers us. I honor the path that brought you here today. I honor the path that brought you here today. Yes. All right. And so, Martin, if you want to go on to the next slide, this is our weekly schedule. Keep in mind that if you are remembering all of the things that you want to write on your calendar to not miss this week, the details and all of the registration links and everything are available on our website. You'll find everything you need there to become an even greater part of this community. Also wanted to mention a few things that will be going on this week. First up is yoga with Kathy. She will. Oh, okay.
Kathy will not be here this week. She's still in San Diego. She's not driving us through the storm.
Okay, Kathy is still in San Diego and is actually not going to be able to drive up because of the storms. So we will let you know when Yoga with Kathy resumes here in January when she is back.
Hopefully next week.
Hopefully next week, she said. All right, and next we have highway cleanup that is coming on January 14th at 9 o'clock. Max, did you want to pop up and say a few words about that?
Oh, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Hi. This Saturday at 9 o'clock, we'll meet at the Hole in the Wall in Arcata and do our highway cleanup. And if it rains, we will cancel because we don't like to work in the rain. But if you're interested, you can call or you can text me. This is a text number. You know, it looks like a landline, but it's not. It's a real smartphone deal. So anyway, hope you can join us sometime, or if you can't, just think good thoughts. Thank you.
Wait, you can't go anywhere.
Oh.
So, Max has been leading the highway cleanup for I don't know how long. Do you know how long?
Well, since Everett, a couple of years.
But you were doing it with
Yeah,
Everett
right,
before.
yeah.
Because I remember when I first came here, you and Everett were doing it together, and I did it once, and I enjoyed it. But we want to honor you this month with your being the member of the month.
Oh.
So, it says what I just said, and it says, look for our sign by the underpass near Cal Poly Humboldt. Thank you, Max, for all you do for our center. We appreciate you.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
everybody.
We want to see it.
Here. It will be going on our wall of fame over here.
How grateful are we for all of our volunteers and all of the ways that we each participate. We also have an exciting event coming up. If you would like to join us for Ernest Holmes, the founder of our movement, it's his birthday. It'll be 136th birthday. Obviously, he's not going to be here in person, but in spirit.
No, it's not on Zoom. We're going to come here and we're going to watch it on the screen. The Science Mind Archives are doing this birthday party. They've got 4 really good speakers. They've got some excellent musicians. So we'll be able to, the 21st.
So for those of you who are online who can't hear Reverend Angelica, this is coming up on the 21st at 4 p.m. We're going to meet here in the sanctuary and be able to view on the large screen everything that is being done to celebrate Ernest Holmes' birthday from the archives. There's some really great speakers and some music. It's going to be a great time, so feel free to join us for that. Did I get everything? All right.
What day of the week is that?
Saturday, January 21st.
Saturday, January 21st.
Sorry, I didn't put that on.
All right. I also wanted to mention the bookstore. Books are 25% off or as otherwise marked. And the little pantry, I have written down, feed me on Mondays from noon to 4, specifically looking for pop-top cans, baby food, and even things like milk and juice that can be stable at room temperature.
How do we pay for the books?
How do you pay for the books? That's a great question. Who do they pay for the books?
See Michelle.
See Michelle.
Thank you.
All right. And so our theme for this month is walking our talk. Ooh, that's a good one. And to start us off, I'm going to go ahead and invite Scott up with Jackson for our contemplative meditation.
I just noticed we have carpet here. Wow.
Thank you to Brian and to Rick for being here yesterday. And doing
No more of that minimalist plywood type look. You know, very nice. Wow, that's beautiful. Love the color. Okay, this is the time for the contemplative meditation. I'm going to read to you something that I found that I felt to be inspirational and on topic. We'll then have a minute of silence. After the minute of silence, Jackson will play us out with some music. And after he's done, I will do a treatment and then hand it off to Angelica. So if you take a deep breath and get centered. This is from Ernest Holmes, How to Use the Science of Mind. Life is, and we live it. The law of mind is, and we use it. The teacher or practitioner of this science, like those in physical sciences, need not explain why things are so. No physicist attempts to explain why energy is. He merely accepts the fact that it is and uses it. Just as many years of careful work and experiment in the field of science has established certain truths and developed certain techniques, so in spiritual mind practice, many years of investigation have demonstrated the principle and practice in this field. We know something of the how, nothing of the why. The how we use, the why we must accept. In doing this, we are in no way departing from scientific procedure because all science must follow the same method. Prayer and faith have produced wonders throughout the ages. We are reducing them to a principle which can be, at least in some degree, consciously understood. Faith is a principle in the universe, and wherever it has been exercised, the principle has been demonstrated. us in the first person is that the energy of the universe is without limit. From the smallest atom to the largest galaxy that we cannot even imagine, there is no difference. There is no separation. There is no two. There is only one. It is one infinite, flowing, combining, loving, creative universe, and I am of that universe. I am made of the same energy that has created the most powerful forces in this planet, in this universe, in this galaxy, and because of that, I know that as I open my heart to that power, any wish I have, any thought I have, any belief I want will be manifested to the level that I can accept it. So I open wide myself to this energy, knowing that whatever I picture will come forth. All I have to do is let it happen. And for that power, for that ability, for all of that love and creativity, I am beyond grateful. I let it flow through. I give thanks for being that force, being part of that universe, and release it into the law of mind, knowing that it happens as I believe. And so it is.
We are standing on holy ground, and I know that there are angels all around. Let us feel God's love right now. Right now, for I'm standing on in holy ground.
Thank you, Jackson. Now I will turn the service over to our spiritual guider, spiritual leader, and minister, Reverend Angelica.
What? Oh, yes, I have the book. This month, we are going back to basics. I think it's a really good thing for us to remember the basic teachings of the science of mind. And in this book, The Science of Mind, which I can't show you the cover because my book, this is how bad my book is. It's falling apart. I went to have it rebound one time, and they told me that they couldn't do it because I have too many things written in the margins, and I would lose them. So there's a section of this book in the very beginning that is like the prologue or the preface or whatever, and it's 4 chapters. And each one of these chapters you're going to hear from today through the end of January. And these basically is the teaching in a nutshell. And he wrote this, and then my feeling, somewhere along the line, I heard from one of the older ministers that he had this little bit, which is like this much, right? And somebody said, oh no, you have to explain it to a greater degree. And so all of this came about from this. But of course, you have to remember that this does have a glossary in the back. It has lots of little meditations in the back. So if I just went to the very end of the book before those, then it's this much. So this much became this much. And you can see I have little post-it notes, and if you were standing here, you would see all the different colors of highlights that I have used over the years. You've got to remember, let's see, I got this book in 1980. So I've been using a long time. And somebody bought me a beautiful leather-bound one when they were here, when they were out. And I love it, but I've never used it because everything I want is in this one, and it keeps getting added to. So this week we're going to learn about the thing itself. Now, Dr. Holmes starts out this chapter by saying, "We all look forward to the day when science and religion shall walk hand in hand through the visible to the invisible." And my note there is, nobody has ever seen God. There's lots of different anthropomorphic representations of God. For instance, there's 10,000 Buddhas. You know, there are many different deities in the Hindu religion. There's Jesus on the cross. There is lots of different representations of the divine, but nobody has ever really seen God. He goes on to say, "Science knows nothing of opinion, but recognizes a government of law whose principles are universal. Yet any scientist who refuses to accept intangible values has no adequate basis for the values which they have already discovered. Revelation must keep faith with reason and religion with law, while intuition is ever spreading its wings for greater flights, and science must justify faith in the invisible." So this whole idea of the thing itself is really, you could shorten it down to that phrase that we use a lot, all there is God. You know, you could shorten it to, there's only one life, this life is God's life, this life is perfect, this life is my life too. I mean, all of this is our teaching in a nutshell. In fact, years and years and years ago, I went to do a house blessing when I lived on the Big Island, and for my girlfriend, and somebody came up to me during the party afterwards, after I'd done this blessing, and said, "So could you tell me in 13 words or less what you teach or what your religion is about?" And I said, "Hold on a minute. Now, I got to tell you a little story about myself. Some of you already know this. I was standing there with a drink in one hand and a joint in the other." So I said, "Just give me a moment." And what came through for me is, all there is God, and it's done unto me as I believe. That's our teaching. All there is God. Everything that you're looking at in here, the people that you're looking at, the new carpeting on our stage, the stage, everything, it's all divine energy coalesced into form by our thinking. And it's the collective thinking, for instance, that those are chairs, that makes them stay stable for us to sit on. It's the collective thinking that this is our body that makes it stable for us to live in. And in fact, if those of you who got my Friday message, I mentioned that this is our earth suit. The thing inside of us is spirit, and it's alive, and it's immortal. And it's going to be here forever, always has been, always will be, and we're going to live in different dimensions. This is our suit for this particular dimension. That's not in this first chapter, but there you go. So he does go on to say that the seed of freedom must be planted in the innermost being of humanity. But like the prodigal son, we must make the great discovery for ourselves. So that's what we're doing in this center, and doing it over and over and over again, making this discovery of this one power, one presence that is absolutely everything. You know, I've been doing this for a really long time, and still I find myself forgetting and going into fear, or going into criticism or judgment or whatever. And then I have to bring myself back. I used to say that I was so happy when classes started in September, because then I could reinforce what I actually believe. Because we live in an atmosphere of hypnotism. We're hypnotized to think that we need more pills as we get older. We're hypnotized to think that certain foods are good for you and certain foods aren't. We're hypnotized. I mean, and you can see this if I look back over my history. Okay, I was a hippie, so everything was free love and, generosity and compassion and staying stoned. And then I moved into the 80s and then the 90s, and the 90s were all about Birkenstocks, and you still were a hippie, but they cost a lot of money. But that was a collective consciousness thing that was happening. Right now we're in a collective consciousness that they're wrong and I'm right. Think about that. We're in a collective consciousness that says people should pull up their bootstraps and get jobs and do certain things. They don't deserve to get any handouts. We're in a collective consciousness right now of, hate and love. And I'm really trying to focus on all the compassionate stories that I find on the internet or on television or in my own neighborhood. I've remarked on it. I'm on that Next Door Neighborhood website, and when I hear a story that's kindness and compassion, I always write, I love these stories. More. Because each one of us is experiencing kindness and compassion in some way, unless we buy into a story that says you're wrong and I'm right. The truth is, in your individual consciousness, you are right. No matter how you're thinking, no matter how I judge your thinking, you're right for you. But what we want to do as a collective, when you look out at the world and see what's happening, not just in the United States, but all over the world, there's this stuff going on. There's upheaval going on. And remember, I've said for 4 or 5 or 6 years now, maybe even since I started here 8 years ago, that something's happening that is, some factions might call it an ascension process. Something's happening that we are rising in consciousness. And sometimes it doesn't feel like it. But if you look back on your own life and you see things that you were looking forward to that were really good, and then something shitty happened right before it, that's where we are now. Is the crap has to come up to be healed. It has to be revealed to be healed. And so that's what we're doing. That's what I think my job is right now, is to look at the higher truth of everyone and everything. That's your job as well. I got up this morning and saw that sunshine outside, and I thought, oh, wow, it's so beautiful. And my mind immediately went to my garden. It's like I look out the front window, and those roses are so leggy. I've got to cut those back. And the weeds are like 2 feet high underneath them. And, instead of just glorying in the wonders of nature, my mind immediately went to what wasn't done, what needed to be done. This is sort of how we're raised, isn't it? So Dr. Holmes says, the study of the science of mind is a study of first cause, spirit, mind, or that invisible essence, that ultimate stuff and intelligence from which everything comes, the power back of creation, the thing itself. So as we're moving through this teaching, we start accepting that there is this thing itself behind all things. And as we're accepting that truth, then we're learning how to use it. So if I recognize that all there is spirit or God or whatever you want to call it, if I'm recognizing that all there is this divine energy, then one of the things that I want to do is start seeing that divine energy in everything. And so for me, and things I do with those people who go into foundational classes, the beginning classes, is I say, make your own God. You know, create a designer God. What do you want God to be for you? Do you want it to be the God perhaps of our childhood that was, in my childhood, I went to Catholic school, lived at Catholic school, and, you know, God could see everything all the time. And so God became like this big eye, a very judgmental eye. And as I grew up and I started getting into being on my own and realizing, well, wait a minute, I want a God of love. And so I started making lists of all the qualities that I felt my God should have. And so then I came up with the idea that everybody should do that. Everybody should create their own God, because guess what? The thing itself reacts to how you perceive it. If you believe that God is a judgmental God, you're going to be judged all the time. If you believe God is a loving God, you're going to see love all the time. And if you're sort of in between those two, sometimes you'll be judged and sometimes you'll see love. And so our thing is not to walk that middle path between those two, but to step over into the love path, the compassionate path, the kindness path. So he goes on to say, it may seem as though in dealing with metaphysics we are dealing with something that is too abstract. But what is tangible other than results? Principles are forever hidden from our eyes. We accept the deductions of science insofar as they are proved, and we recognize that they are built upon immutable but invisible principles. In other words, when we're thinking of the thing itself, and we think that it is both love and law, divine law, we see our awareness of this idea called law increases as we see its results. So I loved it before COVID. I think we're going to start calling that PC. Pre-COVID, right? When we used to have our big circle at the end and people would share demonstration stories. Because it's so wonderful to hear how this stuff works in people's lives. It's so wonderful to know that, hey, if they did it, I can do it. Right? So, one of the things that we do as we're studying this teaching is get into this idea that there is a power for good in the universe, as Ernest Holmes used to say at the beginning of all of his radio shows. There is a power for good in the universe, and you can use it. We are using it all the time, but now we want to use it consciously. Here's a little idea where he says, it's under a little subheading called The Universe Never Plays Favorites. So just because I'm the minister, it doesn't mean it works better for me than it would work for you, right? Though I've studied it long. I've put in more work. So, he says, we are so used to the thought that if we mix certain colors, we get certain other colors, that we do not realize that we're dealing with a principle. We know that whoever blends these particular colors will get the same result, but we do not know why. The wisest person living does not know why. We have to stretch our credulity. We do not have to stretch our credulity anymore in metaphysics. And that's, by the way, what this religion is it's metaphysics. This idea that we're dealing with a principle. And this principle is, it's done unto you as you believe. The master teacher Jesus said that, Buddha said that. It's in many great faith traditions. It's done unto us as we believe. So, that means that not only do I have to get a deeper understanding of what God is for me, but I have to look at all of my beliefs. What do I believe about politics, for instance, right now? What do I believe about my weight? What do I believe about relationships? What do I believe about prosperity? The 4 areas that we work in the most are relationships, health, prosperity, and creativity. That's where we basically use these principles. And so we look at what we believe about each one of those things. That sometimes I think this is the religion for lazy people, because you do spiritual mind treatment, or affirmative prayer as we call it, and then you step out in faith knowing that the universe is going to handle it for you, and it does. So, you don't have to do a lot of work. So that's not true. The truth is you have to work all the time. You have to constantly be checking, what am I thinking here? So one of the things I've written in the edge here is, God is for us. If God is for us, who could be against us? And he says, Dr. Holmes says, this is the simple meaning of true metaphysical teaching, the study of life and the nature of the law, governed and directed by thought, always conscious that we live in a spiritual universe, that God is in, through, around, and for us. So here's something that you also learn in this teaching, is you learn that God is not out there. Well, it is out there, but it's not just out there. It's everywhere, and mostly it's in here. There is nothing that is not God. Another thing he says is, mind, the thing, spirit, causation, is beyond and yet not beyond our grasp. Beyond in that it is so big. Within in that wherever we grasp at it, we are it to the extent that we grasp it. But since it is infinite, we can never encompass it all. We shall never encompass God, and yet we shall always be in God and of God. Somewhere someone said, I think it was Emerson, the center is here, the circumference is nowhere. In other words, every single spot is the center of the divine. So let's see, what else do I have? Oh, he calls in this chapter, the thing itself, he says the subjective mind of humanity, and by the way, it says man everywhere in this book, but I change it as I'm going along, for all of us. In the subjective mind of humanity, we find a law obeying their word, the servant of their spirit. So we're back to that idea of the limitless power at our disposal. The limitless power that's at our disposal. And again, I'm going to say, you can read this chapter and you can go, and agree with the various things, but you have to take it to the level of belief. And in fact, after that, then you have to take it to the level of knowing. That knowing that just is. Belief is something that we create in our minds. Knowing is a point beyond that, where we then begin to walk our talk, as our theme is, without even thinking about it, unless we do something weird. Then we have to think about it. So once again, I'm going to tell you, there's a power for good in the universe, and you can use it, always. He says, all thought is creative. We must say that all thought is creative according to the nature, impulse, emotion, or conviction behind the thought. Thought creates a mold in the subjective, in which the idea is accepted and poured, and sets power in motion in accordance with the thought. The conscious mind is superior to the subjective and may consciously use it. Great as the subconscious is, the subjective is his word for subconscious, okay? Great as the subconsciousness is, its tendency is set in motion by the conscious thought, and in this possibility lies the path to freedom. That's part of the work of our teaching, is allowing ourselves to go into our subconscious mind or our subjective mind and find out, what are we still carrying around with us? You know, I remember this memory comes to mind of, I got a phone call from my mother. Now, I was adopted, and my mother was very abusive, an alcoholic, a rageaholic. So I get this phone call from her, and I'm an adult. I'm living in Hawaii. I have a church already, you know. I get this call, and she's talking to me a little bit, and I'm talking to her a little bit, and I'm wondering, why is she calling me? And she says a few things, and I suddenly realized that the person that I had become in just a few moments in that phone call was only 11 years old. That I had gone from being 30-something to 11 in this 30-year-old's body. And that was who wanted to respond. And for me, it was, boy, I got some forgiveness work to do here. I really realized that. And you know, forgiveness is an interesting thing. I don't know how many of you have really gotten into it and tried it, but sometimes you think you've forgiven something and everything is just fine and dandy, and then something happens and you feel your whole body clenching up, and that those feelings of either betrayal or anger or abandonment or whatever they might have been come back again, and you think, oh God, I hit another layer. You know, got to do this work again. You realize that you finally have finished the work when you can talk about it and there's no physical reaction in your body anymore. It's just part of your story. So Dr. Holmes says, the subjective is a world of law and of mechanical order. In our lives, it is largely a reaction, an effect, a way. It is never a person, though it often appears to act as though it were one. The simplest way to state the proposition is to say that we have a conscious mind that operates within a subjective field, which is creative. The conscious mind is spirit. Oh, I wrote a Hawaiian word in here. The conscious mind is spirit, the subjective mind is law. So we're working in the area of both love and law. He also says we do not create. We attract. We do not create laws and principles, but discover and make use of them. And in our making use of them, then we attract what that thing is that we're trying to attract into our lives. And my last point in this chapter is that we have to learn to trust it. We absolutely have to learn to trust the universe. When I wrote my Friday message, I was thinking about all these, you know, the earthquakes, the rain, the this, the that, you know. Oh my God, we've started out our year so crazy. And I'm hoping we're not setting up a pattern for that. I don't want to experience 2023 as a cataclysm, chaos. Yeah, what other words do you have? However, you know, I got it that the weather is just weather. You know, one of the things that I know is that as we've been experiencing this climate crisis, a lot of the ice that has covered the two poles has dissolved. raising up the level of the ocean. Well, the funny thing is that scientists also feel that because the icebergs, the shelves of ice, have dissolved, the Earth is spinning faster than it was. And then I read yesterday that they've discovered that the galaxy is spinning through the universe at something, I don't even remember the number, it was gigantic. But it was like, 900 miles an hour or something like that. And here we're just, hey, this planet is part of a galaxy that's spinning at 900 miles an hour? And one of the things that I learned a while ago from a scientist was that we're moving into, it's a spiral galaxy, and we're moving into one of the other parts of the spiral. So that causes a little wobble in the way things should be as well. So what I got out of all of that was, here I am sitting or standing. I don't feel any of that stuff, but I can see effects of the divine energy in action out there, and possibly in my own life as well. So for me, it's even more important to live in both love and law in order to do my part to make things better. So practicing environmental policies, I even bought myself a new toy. Some of you guys know I like investing in things, and I invested in a company that made a kitchen countertop composter. And I could put everything in there, push the button, and 13 hours later, it's dirt. I could put things in there that smell. They don't smell so good. Or I open it up, I only run it once a week because I don't, I'm single, I don't eat that much stuff to go in there. But, and sometimes towards the end of the week, I open it up and go, ew, gross. And then, close it back up, push the button, and the next day, it's dirt. And there's plastics that can go in it and cardboard that can go in it. So we do what we can to further the goodness of our planet, to be compassionate toward our planet, to be compassionate towards each other. And again, I want to remind us that absolutely every single bit of it is the thing itself. All there is God, and it's done unto us as we believe. He ends this chapter by saying, the mind we discover within us is the mind that governs everything. This is the thing itself, and we should recognize its simplicity. So let's see our affirmation for today. Scott wrote these affirmations, and let's say this together. The one universal voice speaks through all life, all beings, and all creation, animate and inanimate. I accept this truth and release all self-judgment, trusting that what I think, say, and believe is the true voice of spirit. I release all negative judgment and doubt and willingly accept that my words and thoughts are those of the thing itself. And let's go into prayer. Gratefully I acknowledge this truth, that all there is the divine. There is nothing but the divine. Gratefully I acknowledge that there is within the divine both love and law. This power for good in the universe that I can use. And so as I speak this word in the first person for all of us, I know that we're ready and willing to see spirit for all that it is, everything. And we're ready and willing to use the power for the highest good for everything. So I know that as we walk the path of our life this week, we walk it with this conscious idea of seeing that everything around us, everyone around us, everything from the tiniest grain of sand on the beach to the galaxies in the universe, it's all one thing. It's all divine energy. And so we celebrate that divine energy. And we allow ourselves to breathe deeply and use the power within to make this even a better experience, not only for ourselves, but for everyone. And we do this with love and compassion and kindness. We let go of all the things that we were attached to that are not that are no longer necessary for our highest and best good. And we celebrate the divine in absolutely everything, recognizing that it is love, and we are the beloved in whom God is well pleased. So I give thanks for these things. I declare it's a good week for all of us, and so it is. And this morning we have a gift of music with Anna. You're getting back in your body? Is that what you're doing?
Come out of it. Thank you, Angelica.
Thank you.
Okay, this song is, I was going to have my friend Craig, that I've been singing with, come today, but Craig couldn't make it. So we were going to do Today is Mine, Today is Mine. And he leads that song, so I can't do it for you. This song is one I wrote, and it's history, and it's about the difference between manifest destiny and that all the things were made for man to dominate, and the culture that we live in now, which recognizes life in all things. And some of it's a little sad, and at the end, changes are coming that you can't comprehend. These are these transformational new spaces that you were talking about, and it holds two things at the same, contradictions at the same place, like what's that, a no koan. And what you said, the center is right here, but the circumference is nowhere. The opposing things of the tragedies that have brought us here through the generations, and the love that we feel and we know. So, get all sad in this song. Give you the benefit. Come gather round, and I'll tell you a story of money and power, greed and glory, one a sacrifice and one shame, one of many games greedy men play. History tells us of the white man's sin against Turtle Island and the Indians, all about nature and what was killed, the debt that was never paid, the debt we owe still. Is it all just for man? This song was made, the warmth of the sun, the cool of the shade, or is it life itself, something we share with every living thing? The land, the sea, and the air. Hear what we tell you, we speak for the wind. Changes are coming that you can't comprehend. Like a ghost dancer with his faith and his pride, shot down in his beaded shirt, feather by his side. Timeless dimensions, he has gone into a world where life carries on. When the dust bowl winds first rose in the sky, billowing clouds of dust 2 miles high, what did you hear in the tornado's eye? Only the sound of the ghost dancer, the ghost dancer's sigh. Is it all just for man? This all was made, oh, the warmth of the sun and the cool of the shade, or is it life itself, something we share? The sun, the moon, the stars, the sea and the air. Hear what we tell you, we speak for the wind. Changes are coming that you can't comprehend. Hear what we tell you, we speak for the wind. Changes are coming that you can't comprehend. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anna. Very beautiful. Yes. All right, now it's time for us to think about the offering that we're going to be giving this morning. So let yourself just imagine, either you actually hold it or you are imagine holding it, and you feel the energy of it. This is energy in form, divine energy in form. And we love how the universe supports us, and we love how we can help support the universe. And so we bless our offering with a glad heart and a generous spirit. And so it is. with a grateful heart, we acknowledge these offerings. They're blessings from the universe, coming through us in wondrous ways. So we celebrate our prosperity, we celebrate life itself, and so it is. So who would like to say our community statement of inclusion this week? Who would like to read it? Catherine, great. Yes, you have to come up here. And Karen even provided a copy for you to read from. Yep. And here you want to say, everybody, we're going to all say the last line together. So
Okay.
go for it.
Woohoo! We, the Eureka Center for Spiritual Living, are a community that celebrates diversity, fosters inclusion, champions inner work, and creates space for brave, vulnerable conversations. We are a community that honors the unique emanation of God that each person embodies and advocates with people for human rights and dignity for all. We are a community that blesses each other, sees sacredness in all life, remains learners and listeners so that we may grow together, and understands that oneness is not sameness. All together we say, we know our beloved community is revealed more fully when we love each other well. And so it is.
Thank you. What did you say, Jackson? Jackson, what did you say? And Ukiah. Yes, I was going to stand here and say hello to the Ukiah people and to anybody else that's on Zoom. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Thank you all for joining us this morning. And let's stand up and sing, I'm Stepping Out. That's what we're doing this month.